Mom, please. Just one night. My 8-year-old daughter, Maya, was holding my hand so tightly her fingers hurt. We were standing on my parents' porch with one overnight bag between us, still smelling like smoke from the electrical fire that had ripped through part of my house hours earlier. Behind my mother, I could see white flowers, champagne bottles, catering trays, and gold decorations covering the living room. Mom barely looked at Maya. "Your sister is having her engagement party here," she said. "We can't have this drama." I stared at her. "The firefighters said we can't go home tonight." Dad stepped beside her. "There are hotels, Clarice. We have guests coming. We can't have everyone walking into smoke-smelling fire stories." Then Maya looked up at my mother. "Grandma, can I just sleep in Mom's old room?" Mom's hand tightened around the door. She wouldn't even answer her granddaughter. She closed it, and then I heard the lock click. That tiny sound changed everything. Because my parents had just locked me out of the house I had quietly helped them keep for 7 years. I stood there for another second staring at the door. Through it I could hear someone laughing. Glasses clinked somewhere inside. Maya tugged my sleeve. "Mom." I looked down. Her hair still carried the faint smell of smoke. She had changed clothes after the firefighters cleared us from the property, but she looked exhausted. "Are we going back home?" "Not tonight, sweetheart." "Where are we sleeping?" I swallowed. "I'll find somewhere." 3 hours earlier, an electrician had been explaining why part of my house couldn't safely be occupied. Now I was searching hotel rooms from my parents' driveway. The cheapest decent place nearby still cost more than I wanted to spend, especially with repairs coming, but Maya needed a bed, so I booked it. We drove away while workers carried trays through my parents' front entrance for Vanessa's engagement party. At the hotel, Maya barely made it under the blanket before falling asleep. I sat beside her with my laptop and phone trying to calculate what the fire was going to cost me. Temporary housing, electrical repairs, restoration, insurance deductibles. Then I opened my banking app and there it was, scheduled transfer, $3,200, Bennett mortgage contribution. I stared at the screen. I had been making that payment every month for 7 years. It started when Dad's business hit trouble and Mom called me crying. "Without you, Clarice, we could lose this house." I had never forgotten those words, so I helped month after month, year after year. I opened the transaction history and did the calculation. $268,800, almost $270,000. Yet tonight, when their granddaughter needed one bedroom for a few hours, we were apparently too much drama to bring inside. My thumb hovered over the recurring payment settings. Then I thought about the champagne, the catering, the new furniture I'd noticed through the doorway, the renovations they had finished months earlier. Something suddenly didn't make sense. I pressed cancel recurring transfer. A confirmation appeared. I tapped it. And sitting beside my sleeping daughter in that cheap hotel room, one question wouldn't leave my mind. If my parents desperately needed my $3,200 every month to keep their house, how could they afford everything I had just seen inside it? My phone started ringing before Maya was awake. Mom. For one stupid second, I thought she was calling to ask how Maya had slept. I answered quietly so I wouldn't wake her. "Hello. Clarice, what did you do?" "No, good morning." "No. Is Maya okay?" I sat up. "What are you talking about?" "The mortgage payment. We received a notification that your automatic transfer was canceled. Tell me that was an accident." I looked across the hotel room at my daughter sleeping under the thin white blanket. "No, it wasn't." Mom went silent. Then her voice hardened. "You know we depend on that money." I almost laughed. "Interesting. Last night Maya and I depended on you for one bedroom. That is completely different." "How?" Dad's voice suddenly came through the phone. "Clarice, family members help each other without keeping score." I stared at the ceiling. "Okay, Dad. When was the last time Vanessa paid towards your mortgage?" Neither of them answered. "Mom." Still nothing. Finally, Dad said, "Vanessa is starting her life. She has an engagement, a wedding to plan. She shouldn't have to carry that kind of burden." There it was. Vanessa was 29. I had been 25 when Mom first called me crying because Dad's business had taken a downturn. They were supposedly months away from losing the house. I had agreed to help temporarily. Somehow temporary became 7 years. Meanwhile, their kitchen had been remodeled. Their living room had new furniture. They had taken vacations. And last night, while my own fire-damaged house sat behind emergency tape, caterers had been carrying champagne into theirs. I lowered my voice. "Send me your current mortgage statement." Mom answered immediately. "Absolutely not." "Why?" "Our financial documents are none of your business." I glanced at the banking app still open on my phone. Anything requiring $3,200 of my money every month became my business a long time ago. "Clarice, no statement, no payment." I ended the call. For once, I didn't call back when Mom rang again. A minute later, my phone buzzed with a text. I opened it. "Mom, if you do this to us, don't expect to be treated like family anymore." I read it twice. Then I looked at Maya sleeping 10 feet away. Less than 12 hours earlier, my parents had locked their granddaughter outside during a housing emergency, and somehow stopping the money was what they believed made me disloyal. By that evening, I had no intention of going anywhere near my parents' house. Then Maya looked up from the hotel desk. "Mom, my school backpack is still in Grandpa Robert's car." I remembered immediately. Dad had picked her up from school earlier that week, and we had forgotten to get it back. Her homework was inside, so I drove over intending to do exactly one thing: get Maya's backpack and leave. Unfortunately, Vanessa's engagement party was already underway. Cars lined the street. Through the windows, I could see relatives talking beneath the gold decorations I had seen the night before. I knocked. Mom opened the door. The moment she saw me, her expression changed. "What are you doing here?" "Maya's backpack is in Dad's car. I'm getting it and leaving." I stepped into the entryway. Mom followed. "You have some nerve showing up after what you did." Several conversations nearby went quiet. I lowered my voice. "Not here, Mom. No, you don't get to punish this entire family because you're angry about last night." Vanessa approached from the living room in her engagement dress. "What's happening?" Mom folded her arms. "Your sister suddenly decided to withdraw financial help from your father and me." Vanessa stared at me. "Clara, seriously? During my engagement party? I didn't come here to discuss this. But you're threatening Mom and Dad financially because you're upset." Before I could answer, Uncle David stepped closer. "What financial help?" Mom's face tightened. "It's private." That was when I understood something they didn't know. None of them knew. I looked at my uncle. "Their mortgage." Mom snapped, "Clarice." But I continued. "I've paid $3,200 toward this house every month for 7 years. Silence. Vanessa's mouth parted. "What?" Even she looked genuinely shocked. Before anyone could speak again, a familiar voice came from the hallway. "Clarice." Grandpa Arthur walked toward us. His eyes moved over the room before settling on me. "I heard about the fire. Where did you and Maya sleep last night?" Mom looked away. "A hotel." Grandpa slowly turned toward her. "You sent them to a hotel?" It was Vanessa's engagement. Then his attention returned to me. "What did you mean about paying this mortgage?" Dad stepped forward. "It's a private arrangement, Dad." Grandpa didn't even look at him. "How long, Clarice?" 7 years. "And how much?" $3,200 a month. Something strange crossed Grandpa's face. Not surprised that I had stopped paying, confusion that I had ever been paying at all. Then he turned toward my father. "Robert." Dad went completely still. Grandpa's voice dropped. "You told me this house stopped needing Clarice's money years ago." Dad glanced toward the living room. Relatives were staring now. "Can we discuss this somewhere private?" Grandpa didn't move. "No. Dad, this isn't the time. I think it became the time when you sent your daughter and great-granddaughter to a hotel after their house caught fire." Mom stepped forward. "Arthur, you don't understand the arrangement." "Then explain it." Nobody answered. Grandpa looked at me. "Clarice, when did you start paying them?" 7 years ago, when Dad's business was struggling. Grandpa's jaw tightened. That part was real. For 1 second, I almost felt relieved. At least the original emergency hadn't been a lie. Then Grandpa continued. "But it didn't last 7 years." I stared at him. "What?" He turned toward Dad. "After your business downturn, I helped you restructure the debts. We stabilized the mortgage." My stomach dropped. "How long ago?" Dad cut in. We don't need to discuss every detail. Yes, we do, I said. Grandpa continued before Dad could stop him. Robert told me afterward that things were under control. Every time I asked about this house, he said they were financially stable. I looked around at the renovated living room, the new furniture, the catered food, the champagne. Suddenly, 7 years of things I had ignored started fitting together. Grandpa pointed toward the room. When I asked how you were affording renovations like these, Robert implied Vanessa had started helping with household expenses. Vanessa actually stepped backward. What? Dad looked at her. That's not what I said. Yes, it is, Grandpa replied. Vanessa shook her head. I have never paid their mortgage, not once. I pulled out my phone. My hands were steady now. I opened my banking history and showed Grandpa the transfers. $3,200 every month. I scrolled, and it never stopped. Grandpa stared at the screen. I had already calculated the number in the hotel. Now I said it aloud. $268,800. Mom exhaled sharply. You earn more, Clarice. You've always been the dependable one. I turned toward her. So dependable that I could finance this house? Don't twist this, but not dependable enough to sleep inside it. Mom went silent. If my money was welcome here every month, why wasn't my 8-year-old daughter welcome here for one night when our house burned? No one answered. Then I heard small footsteps. Maya appeared beside me holding her backpack against her chest. Mom. I turned. Yes, sweetheart. Can we leave now? Grandpa looked at her, then at the decorations surrounding us. His expression hardened. Robert, bring me the mortgage paperwork. Dad shook his head. No. Bring it. This is my financial business. Grandpa reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Dad moved toward him. What are you doing? Grandpa was already calling someone. My financial advisor. Dad, hang up. Grandpa raised one hand, stopping him. The call connected. It's Arthur Bennett. Dad's face changed. Grandpa walked a few steps away, listening. Yes, the restructuring you helped arrange for Robert. Dad. Grandpa ignored him. I need those records pulled. Robert reached toward the phone. Grandpa stepped back and looked directly at him. Then he said into the receiver, pull everything. I want to know exactly what my granddaughter has been paying for. Grandpa's advisor confirmed enough that night to make Dad stop arguing. The full records came shortly afterward. And when Grandpa laid everything out, the truth was simpler and uglier than I expected. 7 years earlier, my parents really had been in trouble. Dad's business downturn had created debts they couldn't comfortably manage. And my $3,200 monthly contribution genuinely helped protect the house. That was why I had never questioned it. But the emergency didn't last 7 years. Grandpa had stepped in. He helped Dad restructure his debts and stabilize the mortgage. After that, Dad repeatedly assured Grandpa that everything was under control. Nobody told me. My automatic transfers simply continued month after month, year after year. And because my money covered such a large household expense, my parents could use more of their own income elsewhere. The renovations, the vacations, the furniture, the entertaining, even the polished engagement party surrounding us that night. Grandpa stared at Dad across the living room. When I helped with the original down payment on this house, what did I tell you? Dad said nothing. Grandpa answered for him. I told you this house was never supposed to become a burden your daughters had to carry. Mom crossed her arms. Clarice volunteered to help. I did, I said. Everyone looked at me. I volunteered because you kept telling me you could lose the house without me. Mom's lips tightened. We still had expenses. Then you should have told me the emergency was over and asked whether I wanted to continue. I held up my phone. You didn't give me that choice. Grandpa looked at Mom. And yesterday, why couldn't Maya sleep here? Mom glanced toward Vanessa. For once, Vanessa didn't rescue her. Finally, Mom said, I wanted one evening to go properly. Vanessa's engagement party was important. If Clarice arrived after a house fire, everyone would have spent the entire night talking about that. Vanessa stared at her. Mom, you know what I mean. No, I don't. Vanessa stepped away from her. I never asked you to throw Clarice and Maya out. It was your engagement. And Maya is 8. That ended whatever protection Mom thought Vanessa would provide. Grandpa turned toward Dad. If Clara stops paying, can you afford this house? Dad's silence answered first. Eventually, he said, we can make adjustments. Then make them. Dad looked up. What does that mean? It means don't come to me. Grandpa's voice remained calm. No loan, no mortgage payment, no bailout. If you can't afford this house with your own money, you don't keep it. Dad looked at me then. I could see the calculation happening. My cancellation wasn't a threat anymore. It was a missing $3,200 every month. Mom approached me. Clarice, whatever happened yesterday, we can discuss this privately. There's nothing left to discuss. You're really going to do this to your parents? I looked toward Maya. She was sitting quietly near Grandpa now, her backpack beside her. No. I put my phone away. I'm going to stop doing it to myself. The engagement party never recovered. Relatives began leaving early. Nobody shouted. Nobody needed to. People who had spent years admiring my parents' beautiful home now knew who had quietly helped keep it standing. I didn't demand my $268,800 back. I didn't threaten them. I simply never sent another payment, and without that money, reality arrived quickly. My parents cut expenses first, then they tried refinancing. It wasn't enough to make the oversized house comfortable to maintain. Within months, they listed it for sale. Our relationship changed, too. Mom occasionally tested the boundary with comments about everything they were going through. Dad preferred silence. Neither received another mortgage payment from me. Vanessa called me privately after the party. I really didn't know. I believe you. I should have questioned more. She apologized for benefiting from a family dynamic she had never bothered to examine. We didn't become magically close overnight, but we started rebuilding without Mom and Dad standing between us. Grandpa helped in a completely different way. While contractors repaired the fire damage, he made sure Maya and I had temporary housing where she could sleep without wondering whether somebody wanted us there. And every month, the $3,200 that once disappeared into my parents' mortgage stayed with me. I rebuilt my emergency savings. I put more aside for Maya. Then, months after the fire, we finally walked through our own front door again. The damaged walls had been repaired. The smoke smell was gone. Maya ran upstairs and immediately started debating what color she wanted her bedroom. I stood in the doorway listening to her. For 7 years, I had thought being dependable meant never saying no. I thought helping my parents proved I belonged. But when my house burned and my daughter needed one safe bedroom, they showed me exactly how little those payments had purchased. They had locked us out. I had finally stopped paying to be let back in. And as Maya called downstairs to ask whether she could paint her room blue, I smiled and answered her. Because this house was ours. And nobody could make us earn the right to belong inside it. The night they locked us out of their house was the night I finally stopped paying for my place in their family.